Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Miles Trial. This is your host, Saturn, for today's episode, and thank you guys for tuning in. This is a special program brought to you by the new Federal State of China. Today, as we are continuing to cover Miles Guo's trial. Miles is currently being trialed at the Southern District Court of New York. He is facing 12 counts of financial charges and also 1 count of RICO. And also, he has never pled guilty so far to these charges. Today, actually, we have just been wrapping up one of the witnesses from yesterday, and there is also one new witness that has appeared in court today as well. Today is a regular schedule from 9:30 to 2:45 p.m., so it is a relatively short day compared to some of the more extended days where we are ending at 5 p.m. Next week, the 2 days for the trial are ending in 5 p.m. and tomorrow is also another regular scheduled day ending at 2:45 p.m. So today, as we talk about the content from the trial, it will more or less be complete as opposed to yesterday when we had some content, a little bit of content left over, which we will kind of recap as we go through the first witness of today, who has already began direct examination by the prosecution team as of yesterday. So with that being said, let us bring on Ava and Feder to the show. It is so good to have you guys here on the show again. I know yesterday we did a show we talked about actually 3 cases, right? It was a very fast-paced show, I would say, very information-packed. And today is going to be much lighter because we don't have to give a lot of backgrounds on the 3 cases. And I know, Ava did such a good job on explaining the background for the cases. So today, first of all, thank you guys for coming on. And just to kick things off, I have not asked this question for a while. How is Miles and everybody at the court today?
So you want me? Go ahead.
Right, Miles is doing great. As every time I see him, he's always given the same level of energy that really super contagious. And for everyone, his energy, he smiles, and a lot of interaction today with the audience before the court started. He was pointing at. Doing like a hand gesture and then smiling and asking people to calm down because some fellow feathers are gone emotional, and then he's comforting people, and then he's very, very gentle, and he's smiling and friendly. And we were trying to read the signs. There's a message in his signs he's trying to say, but we were just all guessing. It was really fun, this interaction and to see how well he's doing right now. And then it's also to close at the end, and we're all really looking forward to the last day of the trial. And he's wearing a dark, if I remember correctly, he's wearing a dark gray suit with a silver tie. So it's a
and white shirt.
Really, yes, about white shirt, really energized and looking amazing today.
So you mentioned that he was trying to calm some of the supporters, some of the members down, NFSC members down. I think it speaks to how emotional some of our members would get. Looking at Miles, given how much he's done for taking down the CCP, and also at a time where Miles is facing. Miles is in trial, and he's also thinking of others first. Trying to calm people down, trying to give people the support while they're there to support him.
Yes,
spiritually.
They're supporting each other, and a lot of people are first time seeing him too. So they're with the excitement, with all the anticipation, and seeing him and finally meeting him in this kind of special circumstance. It's very understandable. People getting really emotional. And
I think a lot of people get emotional for one reason is because this guy looks like he just walked out of like Sharon Nezaland Hotel, literally. But we know, and through the hand gesture in the morning, when we entered the court, he's already there. He kind of through hand gesture, we were guessing that it takes him 5 hours to get there. To meet us there, that he has to start, his day is way earlier than anybody. And then every day after the court, he has to go back to MDC, and then he has to meet the council, and then, converse, preparing for the next day. And this trial, if it's hard on us by just sitting there and watching, it's going to be even harder on the council's team and on Miles School. A lot of people burst into tears is because they can connect the person who's sitting there, that's just as you described, it was so energetic, it was so high spirit, and has such a great vibes that are contagious and affecting all of us and give us the confidence from inside out. We didn't expect to see a Miles school like that. That's why I couldn't think about all this journey that he has gone through, and he's still holding his hand high. And he can give the extra things into all of us and say, that's okay, we're here together and we're in this fight together. So I think a lot of people are so touched, and I witnessed many fellow fighters sitting behind me, they just couldn't help, even though Miles School said quiet, keep calm and just keep calm and thank you, and really from his bottom of his heart, I think people just hard to control their emotions. Yeah.
Yes, connecting what Ava said about his spirituality and all that. The one sign, the gesture I read to my understanding that he was saying that he was doing exercise and running around, but with handcuffs on. He was doing exercise, but he had the handcuffs on. But then he said, I remember he saying it's okay. He said he pointed at his head, he pointed at his heart, and he says there's no handcuffs. So what I read is that in his mind, in his heart, there's no handcuff as long as he doesn't.
He's free.
He's free.
Yeah, he's free.
This
even
is
though
yes, this he's free of the handcuff. This doesn't exist in his mind and his heart. So this is my guess, but I would love to verify once I'm able to talk to him, right?
That's right. Yeah, verify. And once just want to share this with the audience. Audience may not know. And Miles School, not today, but the previous days, like he in the middle, like in the after the lunch, after lunch break, and usually if he could, he arrived the court earlier than the whistle blower followers. Entering the court, he's actually standing and just waiting for us. At multiple occasions, he's waiting for us, and once we all sit seated, and then he will seat, and then he might give us I remember once he said 5. He said push up. He was doing the push up during the break, and he put a hand 5 and then put a 0 because we thought maybe 50 push ups, and then he did 2 zeros, 500 push up during the half an hour lunch break, when all of us are dining, and he's basically back there and doing push-ups. And of just another information you may not know, in MDC, Miles School did plank for 35 hours straight. And the next person that can do the longest time in MDC, I think it's 3 minutes. So everybody is in awe to the length of time that in terms of Miles School's physical strengths. And so anyway, through the trial, we saw his physical strengths, and particularly his spiritual strengths that really shining through throughout from day 1 to today, day 24.
Yeah, and I would imagine it's definitely very difficult for him to do, especially with the trial going on. And most importantly, I mean, it's the MDC, right? It's his environment that he's in. And the fact that, he has been there for such a long time, and he's still able to be, so spirited, and also keep his physical strength up. I think that's very incredible. Especially, I do know that the dietary, I heard he only eats 1 meal a day now, and I noticed that when he does attend the trial, he drinks water towards the end of the trial, just so he doesn't need to take any bathroom breaks or stuff like that.
Yeah, no one would miss the food in MDC. I'm sure.
Absolutely. So I mean, with that being said, let's get started with the show today in regards to the contents of the trial. Ava, do you want to give the audience a little bit overview about the witness, the first witness for today?
Okay, yeah, sure. The first witness is actually continuing on from yesterday. So yesterday, Feather and I left earlier, so we did not witness the beginning of the direct questioning by the government. So so this witness continued on this morning, and we finished. Right after, a little bit after, shortly after lunch today. And this witness is from a consulting firm named Brattle Consulting, who was basically retained by the government. They were first approached by the government in 2023, last year, March, and then did a lot of work, very, according to the witness, very intensive work earlier this year, particularly earlier this year. So they are providing, the witness name is Paul Hinton. Basically, he is a chief. I understand he's a chief, or if not the boss of this consulting firm. And they specialize in analyzing financial data, come up with financial reporting and those kind of things. So that is why the government basically hired his firm. And basically, my understanding through the testimony is the government give them a huge amount of data and documents, just dump and say, hey, zip through this documents and then identify them. Okay, so first of identify them, whether they are the bank accounts, and then give them, so the government give them specific instructions in terms of what category they need to organize and sorting those material.
So they don't do that independently? The government has instructed them on specific things?
Almost every step of the way.
Wow.
So we felt like this although they're retained for their expertise, in data analysis and kind of sipping through a large amount of information, but I left an impression, and Feather can add in, is they are hand-holding. The government is hand-holding basically everything, okay? And even including the color of the boxes on their diagram. And the government is making these changes last night. This information came through during the cross today, but we will get to more for you for the details before you can add on some of the overview.
Right. On the overview for today, the impression, the first part of of this witness was the direct examination, and then a lot of charts, being shown to us, and a lot of details, and a lot of transactions and records, a lot of statements, verifying each transaction, those banking statements.
What do you mean by verifying?
They're trying to make sure that the chart they create is accurate. That they have they're tracing down this one transaction from this bank account to another bank account. They pull out this banking statement from that bank or from that one bank account to show, this is the transaction. The official document from that bank account that matches the one that the chart they created. So the chart is that's the one that they created, but then there's the official documents from the bank that they verify with, so make sure that the chart is accurate based on the legal documents, right? Okay.
And these were specifically picked out by the government for them to include?
Yes, every single thing is picked out by the government, but what I learned later on, there's like a 681 account in total, and that's not all included in the chart they created that showed in direct examination. And
so first of all, give audience, so let's talk about the chart, what the charts entail, what it is on the chart.
Yeah, I'll talk about a little bit more about the general impression again. So government provides all the records, all the changes and everything is directed by the government, and then the last change made was last night. And they work a lot on the chart. This person learned a lot from the chart, that who Miles is, and then everything about the entities and stuff. And then this is through the chart, through working with government, he learned about this case, and he has no other involvement rather than just making the chart with the government.
I see. So this individual, all they really did was follow the instructions set forth by the government, who has employed them for their services, and created just charts instead of and from what I'm getting at, there's no analysis of anything financial. It was just kind of a collection of data and then putting it onto a chart, representing it through a chart. Correct?
They do. I'm not gonna. This is just words, right? They use, but they say they do verifying the transactions. I don't qualify that as analysis, because analysis is you probably would have a recommendations at the end, or you would paint a picture. But this is truly just a flow charts. Just give you an idea what. Oh, by the way, I have to mention this. So in order for this kind of a work providing to the government, they charge the government $2 million.
$2 million.
When I heard that number and compare what I saw today, that what they basically showed the jury and the court, those flow charts and diagrams, yes, they could bill $2 million, because the question was asked how much you paid, and he said we have accrued expense, so we don't know how much of the 2 million his firm has already collected, but that's not important. But what's important, and just give you a volume, because those information is actually came through from yesterday's direct questioning. So I read the transcript last night, so I can give you a little bit idea just by giving you the number. So in terms of volume of what I mean, a dump that the government gave it to the firm. So so according to this firm, the Paul Hinton, the consultant, they actually analyzed 200,000 transactions. Okay?
200,000.
Yes, and this is for 72 banks. So they look at the bank statements and everything, and altogether there's 2,173 bank accounts, and 119 different entities represent 450 bank accounts. Okay, 119, and then they a little bit give a categorized understanding of identified accounts and then processed accounts. Okay, so this is the testimony came through. They say first, as I said, they've got vast amount of paperwork, and then they have to identify according to the government categories. Okay, the government give them specific direction in terms of what to look for. Okay, and they even set up those definition. Okay, so what should sit at the family office? What entities? Okay, so they set up all those categories by the government. So government give them the specific definition and direction. So then they have to inform the government what they find, because the government did not even bother. I guess this is too voluminous, too tedious kind of a work for them. So that's why they hired a 2 million consulting firm doing those tedious work and going through all those tons of pile of money identified accounts. So this is the identified accounts. Okay, so the identified 20 accounts for rule of law, 49 for GTV, 85 for farms, and 82 for G Club and Crane, and 27 Himalaya Exchange. So these are the identified. And then in the subset of those identified, they give all those identified accounts and information back to the government, and government give them further instructions, say, oh, I need you to process this. Process mean that they would have to log in, create a spreadsheets, move all those information on the spreadsheets if they are not already on the spreadsheets. Okay, so they have to use the number reader identifier, whatever, to export those numbers on the spreadsheets, making sure the format is the same, and they have to create a database out of those government specified processed account. So at the end, they also the process account is a lot less. So 25 from the Lamp Capital, one of the entities, 3 account from Greenwich Land, 55 from farm accounts for the Himalaya farm accounts all over the world, and 52 from the family office entity. Okay, so this is what they've mentioned about total number. So you can tell this is a huge amount of documents that they have went through, but they kind of funneled down to a kind of a manageable workload, and then according to the specific request of the government, that they put it in a format that they presented to jury today, which is diagram, which they tends to show inflow and outflow of bank accounts. Okay, so these are the entities. First of all, they say these are the fraud scheme, right? So on the indictment, if you remember, there's 4 entities was particularly highlighted. That is GTV, right? And that is Farm Loan, so Himalaya Farm Program, and G Club, and then Himalaya Exchange, 4 of them, right? So that is why they identify all those entities that related to them, and they want to show what the money coming out and where the money went. Okay, so through a lot of the direct, they trying to carve out an impression that Miles School and Miles School's family members has misused the fund, which is supposed to be membership money or investment money, but they moved the money to some to a company called Lamp Capital, or to a yard company, or to car-related expenses. So this is what they trying to leave an impression for the jury. So they spent 77 minutes doing that. So it is actually, I would have to say, pretty boring, and I reached to a point that I'm starting doodling, because that's not me. I usually I was a good student throughout my life, but reached to a point that it's really hard to follow. I mean, I've seen a lot of people, even other fellow fighters, even feather at me. We would start drawing things like not paying attention. So that gets me
curious, because you did say these are inflow and outflow charts.
Yeah.
So these are charts, right? Diagrams with different cells. Like this is my understanding of what it would look like. And that gets me curious is the fact that you said it's tedious and it's boring. Was the charts made up in a way that it looked confusing, or were they easy to follow? Because from what I'm getting at is they were not as easy to follow and straightforward as they should be, because I believe if I were from the prosecution perspective, if I were to say paint the picture about these charges, right? I would kind of have to make it more complex with the way the money flows. So is that the case about how the diagrams looked?
Do you want to answer the question?
Oh, I have tried to draw some of the charts. I don't know if you can see, but I try my best to draw. Like, there's so many charts that I cannot keep up. I give up. Like for each chart, you have the bank account from this XYZ company bank account, and then to go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. bank accounts, and the money that went to the different accounts, and also the dates that they went, the dates of the outflows. So they put dates for everything and the dates for the transaction, and then in each account, like, it connects to that might not only connect to one account, it connects to this and that. So there's like I remember for G Club operation LLC, there was like 4 boxes presenting that bank account. I know there's a lot of bank accounts, but then there was 4 boxes for Hamilton as well. And with the way they were put, there's more than how do you say?
So the whole chart is complicated. It's one entity, but they actually made a 4, 5, 6 boxes for each entity. They wanted to make it really hard for you to read, right? Because the font is so small. Just think about an A4 letter, right? How much information can you cram in that space? Is they don't have to list 4 times the same entities, like for example G Club Operation LLC, right?
Right.
But they chose to.
Oh, so that makes more sense, because if you think about it, there's only so many entities, right,
That's
related
right.
to this case.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, 5 or 6 entities on one sheet, that's 5 to 6 cells in total. No matter how many transactions there has been, there should really only be 5 to 6
That's
cells.
correct.
Yeah.
And from what it seems like, they intentionally repeated some of the entities into different cells, and then I guess repeated some of the flows.
Right. And each of the chart or each of the company, and then all the chart, the title was the select flows. Let's say this company is the voice of VOG, and it says select flows. And let's say it's some other charts. Is at the select flows of G Club and Crane, the select flow and expenses by G Club. So it's all pre-selected by the government. Also, for when Ava mentioned about this whole expenses and the outflow and inflow that come down to like a tunnel, like they really conclude that the source of funds, how much went to GTV, how much went to farms, how much went to G Clubs, how much went to Himalaya Exchange. It all concluded that there's a 1.3 billion. And then they made 2 charts to show one that's like a spread chart that from like a tree, from that one branch. There's different branches from one source of fund, and there's one that's accumulative, that goes from like a timeline. That builds up like this, so like it's like a linear way to show where how much the fund raised, and then and so through which time period it was added up.
It was the same information, just presented in a different chart, so they can charge $2 million on the bill.
And it was very interesting, that last question he was asking. Oh, so you can see, right? It started with VOG, which is the first project or first investment they initiated, and then it's the farms, and then you see with the time with the chart they created, you can go to G Clubs with the timeline, and it goes to Himalaya Exchange. So they're trying to show with the time they're building this thing up that become this whole scheme of like fraud scheme with all this money adding up with the time with the entities they created. So you can see this chart is going up, and then they really put it this way to show, see, this is, or at least
that's what they're trying to present to the jury.
Exactly.
But it doesn't stand anything, because they didn't prove anything. That's why when I'm doodling, I put the quote, because this is one of the things that they said. It's beautifully color-coded sheets. And then I want to finish the sentence, which does not prove anything. So during the cross, our defense basically asked, okay, so this is very complicated, but it could be really simple, okay? So is it, instead of 4 boxes, you could just use 1, right? Yes. That's what witness testified. Okay, so it is the prosecutor that asks you to put 4. Is that right? Yes. And
Wow.
the same with the crane, there are other boxes. There's 6 of them. They could just be in one. Okay.
For the crane company.
The crane company, and the other one is for the Hamilton. They have 5 boxes, so it could come down to 1. So 4 plus 6 plus 5, 15 boxes. It could be replaced by 3 boxes, which can clean out all the busyness and the complexity in that sheet.
So 15 boxes, and I'm guessing that's not even all the boxes on the sheets.
No,
Correct?
no, there's a lot of sheets. This is just one of the busy one because the font is really small, giving so many boxes.
Call it a
and-
master sheet.
I guess my
Exactly.
next question from this would really be, because they are replicating so many boxes, are there any discrepancies with the dates on there? Because
yeah, there are tons.
there has to be,
We
right?
get to that. So
Okay.
that's why the cross is very effective. We used a similar amount of time as the direct, but we get down to pretty much everything, like pretty much the data, that the charts. But then I just want to finish the question because the cross, our defense said, did they instruct you the format of the diagram? Yes. They did instruct
Wow.
you even the format. Did they even pick the color, tell you that Hamilton is yellow? Yes. So they get down to the nitty-gritty detail in terms of what you see today is basically dictated by the government. And also they confirmed, as Feather said, the title of various sheets is called selected investments. And this this witness confirmed it's not all, okay? So the government only needs you to paint a picture that good enough. Everything, you don't have to put it on there. So it's already selected, it's confirmed. Okay, so that is why we say you can't prove anything. This is the best you can get is beautifully color-coded Excel sheets that full of numbers and typos, because we find a typo in when the cross. So first of all, because without the visual cue, it's hard for me to describe it. But I want you to think about this. So this flow charts only described, for example, $1 million coming from this bank account, and then going to another bank account, and the other bank account going out for 7 millions to the other companies, and then every dollar, it has a time frame. Okay, so it has a brackets of time frame. Say this $1 million happened on, let's say, May 1st, 2021 to June 1st, 2021. Okay, let's hypothetically say that's the brackets of this 1 million. Okay, let's change the number, 10 million. Let's say 10 million from company A to company B in May to June 2021. And this company B then moved 7 million to another company. But this time, in the brackets is July 2021. Okay, so now the question is, the July 2021 moved out, July 2021 and June 1st, there is about 2 months difference, right? So how do you know any of the time million actually counted for, how much of the time million coming from A to B actually counted for within the 7 million from B to C? Because the time is not overlapping.
Right.
Even though it's overlapping, you still cannot. And the witness confirmed that. Without doing a tracing on dollar amount, he cannot verify the dollar, whether it's counted for the other. Because remember, this is a selected form. There's other banking transactions happening outside of what we just see, right? So you can't explain where the money coming, whether this money is coming from A or even coming from B. It could be coming from D, we just don't know, right? So this is exactly was confirmed by the witness in today's testimony, and it's crucial because this was used again and again to basically undermining pretty much almost every chart.
Right. So basically, without going through the dates by date of each outflow, let's say like for example, the one we saw is the farm select flows.
Yeah.
So the dates that stated of the outflows are before the inflows that's indicated,
That's right.
indicating the chart. But the arrow comes down to this like it spreads like this.
Yeah.
So if it shows that this inflow, this outflow is from that inflow.
That's right.
You know what
so
I mean?
This is a great example. This is opposite with just what I just said. What I just said, the inflow has a date gap between the outflow, right? So the money has not even happened yet, outflow. But the other one is reverse.
It's going this way.
Yeah, it's reverse. The other one is they want to trying to say, hey, Miles Guo took money, okay? Miles Guo took money and his apartment in Connecticut is using the members' money. So they're showing, okay, this is ACA. Okay, ACA money, they moved 32 million to a law firm. Okay, so that's November 20 and November 12th to November 16th. Okay, that's the day for 32. They show a diagram, an arrow, and then the law firm distributed 3 different money. One is 3 million, 5 million, 5 million to a Miles Guo family-related entities. Okay, Greenwich Woodland and Landscape. But the dates, guess what the dates? The dates is actually prior to November. The dates are actually in August, in October that year. So it doesn't
match up.
It doesn't match up. It should not be presenting this way. But then the witness say, well, I'm just presenting the outflow of the money from that bank accounts to the bank accounts. So you have to read the fine prints. Okay? So in this particular case, if our cross lawyer does not pointing out on the date, people would have an impression already. Okay, there's something wrong because everything is going to those companies. Yeah, that's the sequential. Yeah, because the arrow, you kind of a trigger you like thinking, oh, this is time sequential, but it's not right. It's absolutely does not mean that. It only means this bank account moved some money. It does not tell you when. And when you apply the time, then you would know it's completely different story that was telling by the government.
Right, and just to clarify a little bit, right, I just want to make sure that the audience is able to digest this part of the information because I think this is very crucial. So let's say I give Feder $10 and then she spends $10 later. That's the impression they're trying to
That's
put,
correct.
Right? But the thing is we find out later that she's
spent
already spent.
Exactly, she's already
I
spent.
spent $10.
That's
I bought
the second
something
case.
from
Right.
Ava.
Yeah.
But then before you gave me the $10.
Right, so you
Yeah,
already
I
spent
gave to her.
before.
And
you
you
I
don't
could
know-
also give her
Yeah, you
money.
could also
And
give
you
her.
don't know how much money I already have.
That's right.
Right?
I could give you $40 the week prior,
Yeah.
right? Return what I borrowed from you,
Yeah,
right?
and I bought
Earlier.
something, and then you give me $10.
Yes, and then he moved the $10. He gave someone else the $10, and then the government trying to say the $10 he gave out is the $10 from you. That's not evidence, right? Everybody figured that out.
And it was testified by the witness that you can't prove that
You
unless
can't prove that.
Unless you go to the detailed each the fund tracing one by one transaction.
Yeah.
But none of that work is done also because it's not directed by the government.
So just to quickly recap again for some of the viewers who tuned in late, so what we had just explained is some of the evidence that is brought up by the government's witness today, just in an attempt to paint the picture that Miles took the investors' money to pay for certain luxurious objects or other amenities. But they did a poor job at that because of the fact that we just explained that some of the purchases or some of the transfers that they had indicated took place prior to some of the earlier transfers.
Yeah, and also the other example, they brought a expense summary. This is to do with a yacht company. That my understand the yacht company is probably did some service work or service provider for some of the yacht. So on the charts they showed there's 5 different payments at a different time, and the total is 3.9 million. But then there's a typo. Because the total 3.9 million was straddled, the period indicating on the charts is from 2020 all the way to 2022. Okay, and however, when we doing the cross, because this is a total, so you have to add in it's indicating the other sub expenses all coming aggregated together, right? So during the cross, the defense asked, okay, could you identify any of the subcategory expenses that was incurred in 2020? Okay,
Because that was what was listed.
That was listed in the 2020.
Range, right.
But none of these expenses happened in 2020. All of them are happening in 2021. So there is a typo. So the witness was saying, yeah, that's a typo. That's not supposed to be 2021. So the cross say, well, is it a government to ask you to only including 2021? Yes. Okay, so do not including the prior expenses, which could show these are normal. These are happening long before this happened, right?
Does the witness know why it has to be 2021?
No, he doesn't know anything. Why? He just followed the government instructions. Say, hey, you, because it's selected, right? And I pay you, right? And I pay you $2 million. You want to get your $2 million? Do what I said. So this is exactly come from. So we find a typo on the charts as well, but it's just show you that they're so selectively wanted to tell their story, which is, we believe, a incorrect version of the story. And also there are some analysis on the expenses, go to some of the I think it was G Club paying for a yacht for a yacht company, right? But then that we knew that was a Liberty, that was a yacht that bought by the G Club, right? And for the members.
Right.
Actually,
Liberty
I was on
is
it.
the name of the yacht.
Yeah, and Liberty is the name of the yacht, and the expense was about $478K, paying from the G Club to the yacht, and also paying from G Club to the car-related expenses, which was the Lamborghini that bought from Lamborghini Dallas, which is also G Club assets. So everything they show so far, nothing can pinpoint there's any kind of a wrongdoing on behalf of Miles Guo or his family offices or the entities that related to the families.
Right, and also there's on a lot of charts, it mentioned other inflows. So there's, they show this very detailed name of the company account and to another company with the name, but then there's this one branch that leads to other inflows that has no information about it. So this other inflow is kind of in the same level as the source of refund. So this is
so it's at the top of the chart.
Yes, yeah. The source of the funds are in the top. So this goes to each accounts, right? But then you have the other branch that says other inflows. So, but then this witness doesn't remember when it's added to the chart.
Does it have a dollar amount or a date on it?
Nothing.
There's
nothing.
So it just says other inflows.
No info at all. It just says other inflows.
We only know there's 200 some bank account involved, 231 bank account representing by the other inflows, but there's nothing more.
Yes.
Than the number.
So there's a pre-existing balance, but they wouldn't know, and then they wouldn't be able to trace.
It was not stated. It was not labeled.
No, nothing. There's other entities that transfer that didn't show on the charts. So that's the pre-existing balance that exists before the date that they listed or before the amount that they have already in the account. And there's no info on the other info on the inflows, and also the witness did not trace if the outflows on the chart are connected to the inflows, except for farms. Let's say just to clarify, other outflows that's connected to on the chart that existed on the chart, that none of them, they don't know, they didn't trace if all those outflows are connected to this other inflow that has no information.
Yeah.
So going back to the other analogy we were making, it's
that's
very
right. I
similar,
just wanted
right?
to.
Yes.
Yeah. So for example, this is the ACA, okay, and then
ACA.
farms. So farms, you gave her $100, okay. I'm in the black box as saying other info. They don't know me. They just so blub. I give you money as well, and then they trying to paint a picture of the money, $100 you gave it to ACA, which is a family office, okay, which is Miles Guo's family office related in Hong Kong, and then she used the money coming from farm to pay to other family related entities, okay. So, but how do you know that the money is not from the other info?
Right, because there's two branches coming.
That's right.
With the inflow, right?
Yes.
So you don't know when the outflow takes place. You don't know
That's correct.
if it's 100% on
this-
this side
yes.
or if some of it from this
That's
side
correct.
as well.
That's
that
That's
side
the
as well.
same issue.
Yes.
So that is why I think they are not very effective. Just by paying, like this is taxpayers' money of $2 million, I would assume, right? This is paid by government, but yeah, other than the beautifully color-coded sheets that we had to endure for the first 77 minutes, really, there's really nothing they've achieved, unfortunately.
Right. In this detailed fund analysis,
Yeah.
they did not trace the things that could be traced, and then it's very selected trace the funds and the outflows from the account that they want to show. For example, you mentioned about Lamp Capital, right? They didn't show that which part of the fund total fund was used for these extra expense. They didn't show any of that because they didn't go through it. But then, I assume they spent a lot of time on the chart, but then there's part of the chart that apparently they didn't go through, or they didn't just include, or didn't trace that specific part.
So essentially, if you look at it from a accounting perspective, there's too much discrepancies and too much uncertainties in the charts that were created, because every dollar is not exactly accounted for because you don't know the origins of it. Correct.
And the witness confirmed that they were not asked to do a detailed analysis. They were asked by doing just that.
Just graphs.
Just graph. And even last night, as you mentioned, right, they were actually making requests based on government's requests on the boxes, adding in the other info, right?
Yeah,
but
exactly. And none of this is offered for the truth. It's just because it existed, right? And like a bank statement, it's not, it just exists. It's a fact, but it's not offered for truth.
Yeah, and in defense, I want to add, our defense lawyer did one thing really awesome, because he actually showed our evidence and bring a picture of history. Okay, so we talk a lot about ACA, the family offices. He actually showed a lot of bank accounts which was showed by the government. I'm not sure whether the government has it or not, but now they have it. For sure, they've probably seen it before. These are the Golden Spring and ACA transactions that is long prior to the investments. So we actually showed in 2018, April, July, August, January, 2019, January, 2019, August, all those transactions moving money from the ACA to Golden Spring. Okay, see, and so established a normalcy. Okay, because as we said, Miles Guo does not own a credit card, does not have a bank account. His expenses was paid through by his family members and the family entities through family offices controlled entities, right? So this is just adding another layer of what happened prior to all the investments started. Yeah.
And I think just so for the sake of time, we do need to move on to the next witness. But the last thing I'd like to point out is, if the government really is trying to prove to the jury that this is a financial fraud case, I think in my opinion, wouldn't they really try to make it more simplified, just so we isolate the parts where the fraud does occur, right? Instead of building a huge network that creates confusion.
And this is not the first time.
From the sound.
This is not the first time, right? Last one, the Kimberly, the FBI agent was testifying, forensic accountant, right? They would testify so many bank accounts, and then after they testify, during the cross, our lawyer Matthew, and then just use a piece of paper, draw a very simple chart, and say what you just depict using the 45 minutes can be explained using this charts, right? Yes. So that was happened before, and this is another time just to testify, speaks to the volumes of how convoluted the work that need to be in order to tell a story that is not true, right? Okay, and one more thing added to this cross. When the cross started at 10:45, our defense lawyer asked the very first question. He said, Mr. Hinton, before we start, can you confirm you are not a Chinese spy? So that's the first question asked. Yes. And then he did confirm that I'm not a Chinese spy. So move on. Yeah. So, okay. So
next witness. Yeah. Witness number 34. Okay, it's actually, we consider her like a formal fellow fighter, let's say. Although I'm not sure, because they did not mention at all her experience with the whistleblower movement or NFSC or anything related to the to that part, that he supported this movement and anti-Chinese Communist Party. So she is born in China, and then she moved to U.S. in 2007. Now she lives in North Virginia, and she got a master's degree, so MBA. And in Louisiana State University. Yes, and now she works at a bank. I believe it's like a manager of a compliance or risk compliance. And so she claims that she followed Miles in 2017, and she doesn't follow anymore. The very first thing she said about Miles, that he's a liar and he
he's a fraudster.
Cheated us. And then this is the very first thing she ever said about it. And then she watches, I believe in 2017 to 2019, that she said she claimed to watch Miles's video, and then the only thing she get from Miles' video is Miles said that he wants to bring American value to China, which is true. But then she didn't offer anything she learned about the video from the 2 years of the period.
Yeah.
More than 2 years, I'd say, because I don't know if she continued watching. But then that's the only thing she has to say about what she learned from Miles' video is to bring American value to China. And then she further on explained his investment on GTV. And G clubs and his volunteer work at the Mountain of Spice farm, and a lot of evidence showed her transaction, his receipts, and then we can go a bit of detail and highlights.
Is this a he or a she? Because you're using both.
Oh really? Oh, so sorry. She. Yes. Let's say Miss Chen. Miss Chen is a witness.
So let's let the audience know her name too, because I don't think you brought that up yet.
Oh yes. So her name is in Korea called Miss Chen, but it's Chen Wei, right? So this is the name. So we start by the last name Chen and then Wei, right? Or Wei Chen, but Miss Chen. So she followed her husband for all of the investment, and then she first heard of Miles. It's because of her husband started listening. And she doesn't remember anything that Miles said about take down Chinese Communist Party. And then she tends to deny the fact that Miles is an anti-Chinese Communist Party, or she's not.
I don't think she denied. She just downplayed that. She didn't go there.
Yeah, she didn't go. She really tried to avoid to answer any question related to that. And she did not. She claims that she was not a part of the whistleblower movement, but she joined the farm later on. And the reason why she joined the farm and did the 40 hours a week volunteer work is because she wants to help the people in the farm to to count their investment, to count the Himalaya coins and etc. And then the main reason why she invests because she wants to make money. She sees because she trusted Miles so much, and I don't know how many times she repeated in her testimony saying that Miles said there's no risk at all. There's no risk at all. There's only big return, and this is gonna be the best opportunity. And even though in the contract it has the risk factors, and she read through, she thinks it's just a standard language for any contract to have, and she read through, she ignored it, and she still thinks there's no risk at all in this investment, because she claims multiple times saying Miles is a wealthy man. He's a nice person. He wants me to be wealthy. He wants to share his wealth because I'm like his sister. And this is the thing. And she repeatedly said in his testimony, and that she trusts Miles and what he says so much. And then everything that Miles said in the video, it's bigger than anything else that's on paper. This is basically what it is, with all that. And then also Miles did not say there's no risk. I just want to clarify, and that this is where this happened in previous witnesses too, where they claim that there's one witness saying there's a great risk to the investment, and there's one said that Miles downplayed the risk in his video, but this said there's no risk at all. So you can see the contradiction in the witnesses from the government. And do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'm just going to quick summarize for people. There is some very stood out point of conflict for me. So first of all, this person saying that he has been in risk compliance world, okay, and he has been working as a consultant in China for Huntsman as assistant. And then she obtained MBA specialized in internal auditing. Okay, and then she worked for Deloitte until 2011, and she does risk management. And then consulting work, that's her words. I do consulting work for risk, advising clients on assessing risk, okay? And then she became a senior auditor. And then she's working for a bank, title as a manager of a compliance risk. So, number one conflict point of interest. She said she believed when she testified, Miles Guo told her there's zero risk whatsoever, not at all, guaranteed return. And she is professional risk assessor, okay, for 14, 15 years of her life. And she is advising big oil companies, corporations on financial risk, on operational risk, and she believed every single words of Miles Guo, but somehow she left those words when Miles Guo fled the risk for us. Somehow she didn't actually hear that.
Catch it at all.
She only heard when Miles Guo said there's no risk. Okay, so this is point conflict of number one. Second, when asked her, when do you join? What's your first step joining the movement? Okay, I was never part of the whistleblower movement. I just joined FARM, and FARM is for investment. So basically, her logic is I only joined for investment, which is supporting, what you just said. I'm here just, making rich, make money. I want to be as rich as Miles Guo because he told me he's a billionaire, and I believed him. So that's what she said, okay? And she said, I have nothing to do with whistleblower. That's why it makes me thinking that she was never a follower because she came here for investment. She saw this farm is a investment fund and only do fund, and she does not aspire to our goal and the mission. The reason why we have this movement and we call ourselves whistleblower movement and call ourselves New Federal State of China is because we want to take down the CCP. But somehow that didn't get to her because she couldn't remember during the very beginning of the cross. She did not remember anything Miles Guo said about the CCP. And other than Miles Guo was targeted. That's a point number two. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I just want to add really quickly, this goes back to the fact that I think throughout this case, we have to always remember Miles is the number one enemy of the CCP.
That's correct.
And that is the reason why he created the New Federal State of China, is to take down the Chinese Communist Party. If going by her logic, I joined the farm only for investment. Investments is only a very small part of the what the New Federal State of China and the whistleblower movement can provide. But for the majority of it, for the true essence of it, it is about taking down the CCP. So if people like me, Ava, and Feather, we ask if someone were to ask us, why did you join a farm? Why did you join a chapter? We could all say the same answer, and that is to take down the CCP.
Absolutely. Nobody came into here say, hey, I'm making money and come here. Because you're go against the CCP, right? So you're going to lose. You could actually facing losing everything, okay? So, but that's not her, okay? And she's well educated. Sounds like she's very, very intelligent. I would say she's very coherent. Her English is probably the best among the other non-English speaker, right? And she's quite confident. Her voice is really super. Everybody can hear her. So the point three I want to point it is she mentioned about volunteer. Okay, and she started volunteer in the farm in very late, actually, March 2022.
Oh wow.
Okay, and right a year ahead, she quits. Okay, she quit. She said, I don't want to have anything to do with you guys with the investments. That's March 2023, and we know what happened in March 2023. Miles Guo was arrested, right? So she started volunteer in a year prior. And she told during the cross, she volunteered 40 hours, and she had a full-time job, and she also had a kid. Okay, she just somehow
she doesn't sleep.
Yeah, she doesn't sleep. So she dedicated and devoted all her life for not taking down the CCP. Remember, she doesn't believe that.
For investments.
For investments. And she said, my motivation to volunteer is to want to making sure, because my investment was actually incorrectly recorded by other volunteers. So I want to make sure this does not happen to me and other fellow fighters, because I know how hard they're, hard-earned money dollars like and I want to make sure they're accurate. So that's her motivation to volunteer. Okay, that's consistent. But she said something, she said, I thought at the end of the direct, okay, this is where she's really let the floodgate open, and I find it's very difficult to listen because she claimed that Miles Guo damaged my life. This is exactly what she said to the direct to the prosecutor, and then the prosecutor asked her, how so? And then she started. She said, Miles Guo lied to me. Miles Guo betrayed. She presented himself as trustworthy. Blah blah. She said it quite a bit. She said she brainwashed me to believe that she's a billionaire and I can get rich, and she brainwashed me that thinking that she cares about me as a sister. And I was thinking, based on the information that you share with me, I don't know how do you feel like you are a sister? You don't even belong to part of the whistleblower. And your motivation for volunteer is exactly as you said, is to making sure your investment is correctly, accurately recorded. So did you treat everybody else as a family before you demand everybody else treating you as a sister? So I don't know where that impression came from. But he said, he made me to believe he's willing to share the wealth with me, a better life for my older parents, for my kids. She started getting emotional, but she didn't. She held herself pretty well. She didn't burst into tears or anything. But she said, "This is all my hard-earned dollars." And he's a liar, he's a defaulter, and blah blah blah, and he's a cheater. Like she basically literally let go. And I think that's. I had to listen to that, but it kind of tell you that it does not coherently connect to what we know as the movement, as a typical whistleblower movement follower and as an investor, right? So
right, and I think this is very similar actually to another witness, Mulan, in the experiences and actually their background. This one is more about risk management and stuff like that, right? And Mulan has a background in accounting, and these are people who should be very careful and do their own research to gauge these kind of things when someone tells them, "Oh, it's safe." They themselves should be taking these measures to confirm this stuff, right?
And she made donations to Rule of Law Foundation.
Yeah, and this is something we don't have time, but there's another flag that she made a donation in September 2022, $30,000. She never prior year she only made $400, couple hundred dollars, okay? But then poof, $30,000 she made it in September 2022, right before she wanted to return and refund, and not many months prior to that.
So right before she left, she donated.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is a flag, but I wanted to let you know, she said she altogether invested $1.3 million. But when she counted the detailed money, she got almost $200 from the SEC, right? SEC sees the GTV investment. But the rest of the money, she got a response from the corresponding entities, like say G Club and and Himalaya Exchange. They're seized. Her investment are seized by the government.
Right.
Okay, they're not lost, but she claimed this is lost, but they're not lost. They're in the government and we're fighting it, and we believe that Miles School is innocent and we will be able to get this money back, and then we all have the money, okay, and she can have her money back.
Right. Also with donation thing, she did not know who was on board. She did not check who's on board of the Rule of Law Foundation. And she doesn't know, she's not sure about any of the goal of Rule of Law Foundation before donating this $30,000. So, the things that Rule of Law Foundation did, like Ukraine humanitarian work, sending out masks, and et cetera.
That's right.
No, I'm not familiar, but she donated. It's very, very strange. And then all of this is going to be brought up in the cross-examination with Sabrina, and then, continuing today and tomorrow. And we're very, excited to see what's going to come up more.
Yeah, we don't have time, but maybe next show we talk about strategies of the government, because we don't have a lot of time left for defense. The government's supposed to wrap up, by yesterday, and maybe a little bit into this morning, but right now we still not finished. They still have more witness, so this is why they really squeeze out the defense time.
Right, and just to put it into better perspective, right now we only have 3 days left for a regular trial, and then we have another couple of days the week after for the jury to come to a conclusion. So what we're looking at right now is Miles's legal team only really has a little bit over 2 days.
And one thing I want to say, the second witnesses, this morning, the defense lawyer brought a concern, because at the morning at 9 o'clock when the defense lawyer was speaking, they have not received the exhibits for the second witness of this Miss Chen. Okay, so in the morning, we still don't have the exhibits. We do not have her 3,500 material. We have nothing. So that means, this is a strategy tactics of the government has been using, and this is not the first time. It just showed so obviously for us.
Yeah, and I think that we will see more of the trial tomorrow, and then see if there's any more strategies that the prosecution team will be bringing as they wrap up, as they come to a conclusion with their witnesses. Because I do know they pretty much have just one more, right? After this. Yeah, so I think if they are able to wrap up, then potentially we might even see what the first witness for Miles' legal team.
Yeah.
And I know next week we would definitely be seeing Miles' legal team. So everybody, if you guys are interested in this case, you just tuned in to the show Miles Trial at 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern, and we also have the transcripts online at our official website at nfscofficial.com. And if you guys don't have time to watch the show, feel free to also follow us on X at NFSC Speak and on Getter at NFSC Speaks. So these channels, we will be posting some live updates as the trial continues to take place. And it's very short. You guys can get a general idea of what is being discussed that day. At least know how many witnesses have showed up, what are the background of the witnesses. So with that being said, thank you everybody to tuning in to today's episode. It's a lot later than yesterday, but nonetheless, it's still a very interesting day of the trial, and we look forward to bringing more to you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.